Hey guys, welcome back to another today's video. In this today's video, it's going to be a brand new political discussion-based video. In this new discussion-based video, this is going to be a new discussion-based video that will be talking about a current political issue that's currently going on in our country currently. And this is actually the fault of our current president, President Joe Biden, after he took office. And this is something that has to do with immigration and the crisis that's going on at the southern border. And honestly, in my opinion, this issue has been going on since Biden has took office in January, after he changed so much policies on the southern border that reversed so much of the policies that Trump put in place. And like, for instance, some of the executive orders that he reversed was ending the 2018 zero tolerance policy. He also signed an order requesting a comprehensive review of Trump-era immigration policy errors, Trump-era immigration policies. He also signed an executive order that would immediately halt the construction of the U.S.-Mexico border wall. And the reason behind why he did all this is, as I quote here, "The last president of the United States issued executive orders I felt were very counterproductive to our security, counterproductive to who we are as a country, particularly in the area of immigration." And what he's meaning by this is that he thinks having a border wall, having the zero tolerance policies, goes against everything what this country stands for, and that is equality, the right to life, liberty, and to the pursuit of happiness, regardless of who you are, regardless of the color of your skin, regardless of your gender. He's stating on the principle that everyone, even immigrants, have the right to life and liberty. And he believes that border walls goes completely against who we are as a nation. And even though I might disagree with him, he does have some type of a point, a little bit, but in my opinion, overall, I think that was a massive mistake, and we've seen, and I think realistically, and what we've seen on the news, when this crisis started to arise, we saw people from the Biden administration saying that we inherited this problem. We inherited a broken immigration system, and which is entirely not true, because the former administration before the Biden administration, which is the Trump administration, their immigration policies were very, 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 very successful. The Trump administration's rhetoric actually kept border crossings down, and as we see over here, like during the Trump administration, encounters with migrants were lower, with monthly totals peaking at nearly 150,000, according to the U.S. Customs and Border Protection data. The migrants were very, very low. Like, migrant crossings were low under the Trump administration, and that's because the Trump administration took more of a harder stance, a tougher rhetoric and tougher approach to immigration, and not with so much of a friendly approach like what the Biden administration are doing. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're in this issue, why the crisis at the southern border why the Biden administration and our country is in this predicament. And seeing the state governments like Texas and Arizona doing the work of the federal government at securing the southern border and protecting their own sovereignty is completely irresponsible for the federal government. It's completely irresponsible by the federal government. This is the federal government's domain. This is their biggest strength. This is part of federalism here. The federal government is much more competent at conducting foreign policy, building armies, building navies. They're also much more competent at securing the southern border, at protecting our sovereigns, at protecting our individual sovereign, and also also enforcing our immigration laws. The state government should not be doing this. This is entirely the federal government's domain. And see the state governments do the work of the federal government. They should not be doing that. That should be the federal government stepping into the frame. And this is completely irresponsible for the federal government to do. And And seriously, this issue is not because of President Trump. This is not because the Biden administration inherited an issue. This is their own fault. This is their this is their own rhetoric. This is their take of a friendlier approach towards immigration, and it's friendlier approach towards immigration, and it's their policies why we're in this predicament. It's the Biden administration's fault why we're in this predicament. We see this on the campaign trail during the 2020 Democratic presidential primary. In the first debate, all the Democratic presidential candidates, even President Joe Biden, when he was candidate Biden, all raised their hand that they would provide illegal immigrants free health care. That type of rhetoric is why so many migrants are coming to our country, and seeing like what I've been hearing on the news. A lot of there's been Biden wants to have a lot of government spending, and then in my home state of California, Governor Gavin Newsom also signed into law universal basic income in the state of California, where every month every Californian will receive $1,000 a month. And what is this going to say to migrants? What is this going to say to immigrants, like illegal aliens, people who are crossing the border? This is just going to make this issue far more worse than it should be. Because now they're just going to cross the border just to take advantage of services. That's not how immigration should be. People should not be coming to our country and taking advantage of welfare, taking advantage of food stamps, healthcare, universal basic income, and so much of these free services that Biden and even these progressive Democrats even want. And this type of friendlier approach is really not working right. It's really not working right at all, completely. And my overall, the only thing I really see, like with this type of incompetence by the federal government, the farmers, their farms are being damaged because of the migrant crossing. This is destroying crops. They're destroying their crops, their farms. This is a real massive issue that the federal government needs to step in, because this is a crisis, and all we're hearing, and Vice President Kamala Harris, she did visit the southern border, but not in the most biggest parts where there's more traffic areas in the southern border, where the crisis is more relevant. She says that we need to help these countries where the migrants are fleeing from a lot of these countries' problems. We need to help these countries, give them money, give them the tool sets to help them rebuild, to actually help them fix their nation. And even though I might agree with Vice President Kamala Harris on this, like helping other countries, let's first, before we do all of that, let's protect our own country's interests first. Let's take care of our country first. Take care of the American people first, before we make other people's lives better, before we help other countries' people's lives better. Let's take care of our country first. Let's secure the southern border first. And the real solution, honestly, to fixing this problem is the Biden administration taking a page out of the former president's playbook, out of the former administration's playbook, having more of a harder tone and stricter, and have a little more stricter policies when it comes to immigration. And I think that will honestly lower the amount of crossing at our southern border, and that's honestly a good thing. And what we're seeing, but what we're seeing right now, we're not seeing a lot of that from the Biden administration. The Biden administration, they're considering about lifting Title 42, which is essentially which means that we can we're no longer preventing illegal aliens entrance into our country for public health reasons. what we're seeing in so much of these countries is that there has been a rise in COVID-19 cases. A lot of these migrants from the countries that they're coming from have tested positive for COVID-19, and that's going to pose a huge health risk for a lot of American citizens. And that's something that I don't think the Biden. This is where I really side with Republicans on this issue. I side mostly with Republicans when it comes to the issue of immigration, even though I might agree with Democrats and Vice President Kamala Harris on being a little more humanitarian, but also like helping other countries. But let's first, in my opinion, the best approach is actually fixing our problems at home. Taking care of the American people first, taking care of our borders first, getting our borders under control, securing our borders, maybe re-implementing some of the former Trump administration immigration policies. And I know it's a tradition for presidents to actually reverse a lot of the former president's policies. Because Trump did do the same thing when it came to reversing a lot of Obama's policies, like the Paris Climate Accord and so much other policy that Obama passed during his time in office. Trump did reverse it. So this is kind of like political revenge, a little bit playing politics and preserving this tradition. But let's actually break that tradition, because honestly, every president, every person, like what I've been saying in all my videos, every people have good ideas and everyone has good policies to fix the major issues of our country's time. Either we might have some disagreements. Let's not play politics with and preserving this tradition where an incoming president reverses so much of the former president's policies because just to please his base. Let's actually focus on addressing the concerns that every American has when it comes to the border crisis, on other issues. This is and I think realistically, and I understand what I've been seeing on the news. Reason why Biden's been acting like this a little bit is because he's trying to cater to the base of the progressive side of the Democratic Party, people like AOC and Alexander AOC and Elon Homar, trying to appeal to them. And they might have some good policies that I might agree with. I inherently disagree when it comes to, like, they want to defund so much of the border security. They wanted to defund a lot of the border security stuff, and that's not something we need right now. We need manpower. We need a lot of our border patrol agents needs the resources, a lot of the technology. They need more manpower to help them secure the border, because right now they're being overwhelmed by this crisis. And I think it's really time for President Biden and his administration to step in and have more of a harder tone when it comes to immigration, and not really a friendly approach. They need to stop with this government spending and actually say, if you come to our country illegally violate our laws, you will be deported. You will be deported. You will face consequences because you are breaking our laws. You are not doing it the right way, as so many other people that came in, as so many legal immigrants did it the right way, as so many other people that did it the right way. I have a friend that was born in another country. I have family members that were born in another country that did it the right way, that did it legally and not illegally, like what these migrants are doing. We need and I think it's time for the Biden administration to really to have somewhat of more of a harder tone when it comes to immigration. Because if he does that and reinstates a lot of some of the successful Trump, some of the immigration policies that the Trump administration put in place during their era, I think it would actually lower the border crossings on our southern border, and it paid off very well. As we see, what the data is, like what the fact has been saying, that during the Trump administration account, the migrants were very, very low, and because of his rhetoric. It's because of him wanting to say building a wall, and if you violate our immigration custom enforcement, you will pay a price. You will pay a heavy price, and you will be deported. we will not tolerate you coming into our country and violating our immigration laws, violating our customs, violating our cultures. That type of rhetoric is what we need to be seeing from President Biden, taking that action. And I think if he does that, we are slowly cracking down on the major issues. We are slowly lowering the crossings on our southern border for the migrants. And what we're seeing currently is when it comes to these cartels, they're kidnapping children and just leaving them stranded in some parts of the U.S. like the Rio Grande Valley of Texas, where this kid has no idea where he is. He was pretty much taken by these cartels away from his parents and actually travel all the way to the U.S. border, and just leaving him there. You don't know what's going to happen to the kid. He might get sick. Something can happen to him. How is this being inhumane? And then what we're seeing on our other side, seeing in these border facilities, these overcrowded border patrol facilities. How is this cracking down on them? How is this being humane? This is so inhumane. This is not, and the Biden administration is so all about being, in the languages of adopting more of a friendlier approach, being more humane, but overcrowding all these migrants and all these children in these border patrol facilities is going to cause a health risk, because now that they're not 6 feet apart from one another. This is also going to cause and what we're seeing is that in some areas they're taking these people out of these border patrol facilities and dropping them off in other countries, in other states, and just letting them wander off. And we have no idea who these people are, and that's exactly why. And I think we need the Biden administration. It's time for them to step up to the plate and reinstate some of these immigration policies that the prior administration had, because a lot of it did work, and it will work if Biden re-implements it. Takes a page out of President Trump's playbook and former President Trump's playbook, and actually adopt more of a harder tone and harder tone on immigration, and a tougher tone on immigration, and really cracking down on the major issue, really helping that will cool the temperatures and lower the migrant crossing on our southern border. And that's realistic. If he does that, that would honestly go a long way to really addressing the crisis at our southern border. And honestly, and I understand, I get it. I understand he wants to appeal to his progressive base, the left wing base, because if he goes against them, they're going to get really mad and saying they're going to get really mad. But honestly, they're not always going to get what they want, and that's what they have to learn. They're not always going to get what they want when it comes to legislation and policy, because all their ideas, even though they might sound great on paper, they're not all good when it comes to enacting them on policy and legislation. He needs to hear the other side. He needs to hear the Republicans and the conservatives, where they stand. He needs to listen to them more and actually re-adopt a lot of Trump's immigration policy and a lot of conservative policies, and adopt more of a harder tone. He even said that he would be a president for all Americans, the president for all Republicans, for Republicans, Democrats, and so on. Being a president for all Americans, not just his progressive base, not just his Democrats, uniting everyone to actually crack down on the major issues of our country's time, like what's going on the border and even on immigration. And that's something, if he does that, honestly, he has my whole full respect. And as well, he even campaigned that if he wins the 2020 election, which he did, that he would transform America. Well, I know one way that he can transform America: re-implement Trump's the former administration's immigration policies, like the Stay in Mexico policy, resuming the construction of the border wall, and maybe reenacting some elements of the zero tolerance policy. And even what's even more revolutionary is actually consider the Republican bill, to actually bring the RAISE Act to the floor of the Congress and actually encourage the Congress to pass the RAISE Act that would finally adopt a merit-based immigration system that would include a point system that would actually that would incentivize people to work hard and actually go through the legal process of becoming a United States citizen, and actually where we're incentivizing them to bring their talents, to bring their ideas, to bring their dreams, and add it to this multicultural nation, to add it to this extended republic where we are striving to an even more perfect union for all Americans. So that's my overall stance on and if President Biden does that, he would have my full respect on that. That would be something I would honestly I think that would honestly, in my opinion, get him that. I think that would honestly, in my opinion, solve the overall crisis at our southern border if he adopts more of a harder tone, more of a reenacts a lot of the Trump administration immigration policies, and also pressuring Congress and listening to a lot of the Republicans and listening to them, listening to their feedback, and really taking more of a harder tone when it comes to immigration, and really saying to the cartels that we will not allow you to violate our immigration laws. We will not allow these migrants to violate our immigration laws just because they want to come into our country. Or if you want to come into our country, you do it the right way. You do it legally, like so many of the other legal immigrants that did it the right way, that did it through the legal process, that took a citizenship test, that took an oath that they will be faithful American citizens, that they will pay their taxes, that they will that they will do all their citizen duties to build us into a more perfect union that we all want to strive for in this country. So now since you heard my overall opinion and my stance on this issue, and the fact that it's pretty much Joe Biden's fault why this issue is happening because of his friendly approach. Now here's my overall solution to where I overall stand on where my overall solutions and ideas are one of the best ideas to actually crack down on this crisis and ultimately reform our immigration system. And so I'm introducing the American Immigration Custom Enforcement Act. And as the summary states, the American Immigration Custom Enforcement Act aims to solve the overwhelming migrant crisis on the southern border, but also reforms our country's broken immigration system and establish it as a more fair system that rewards immigrants that work hard and goes by the legal process of becoming a United States citizen. So the one ideal principle that I've been talking about in this entire video is establishing the previous administration's immigration policies, like reordering the continuation of the construction of the U.S.-Mexico border wall, reestablishing the Stay in Mexico policy, reestablishing the zero tolerance policy, and reestablishing the extreme vetting on migrants and undocumented immigrants who wish to seek access into the United States. This is important. We need to know who these people are. We need to know who these people are, because we don't want a terrorist or a criminal from another country sneaking into our country, and then it's going to cause havoc. That's going to create a far less safer America. And I think extreme vetting will work in our country. We need to have extensive security to actually make sure that we verify these people. We're not just going to let all these people in willy-nilly. We're gonna have extreme vetting, a lot of background checks to really know who these people are and why they're coming into our country. And this is honestly, plus these policies that were put in place by the Trump administration was actually keeping the border and migrants crossing down. And honestly, in my opinion, even with the former president's rhetoric, this was cracking down on the problem of immigration. This was solving the crisis at our southern border and on immigration, and that's a good thing. And it's why I think the Biden administration needs to really reestablish a lot of the previous administration's immigration policy, because they were actually working. And that's one person once said, don't fix something if it ain't broke. And a lot of Trump's immigration policies we're actually working, so they ain't broke. That they were actually working, and his rhetoric was working. Biden and his administration needs to take a page out of the former president and the former administration's playbook and actually really take more of a harder stance when it comes to cracking down on the crisis at our southern border and really fixing our immigration system for all time. And as well, the monumental, fundamental reform that I think that would actually reform our immigration system and really crack down on the border crisis is fundamentally reforming the U.S. immigration system that the RAISE Act aimed to do. And that was to change the system that would be all based on merit. This would establish a point system where if immigrants want to come into our country, they must have unique talents that can contribute to our nation as a whole. This would incentivize people to work hard and find their one and only talent that they're good at comparatively. So when they come here legally, they're bringing something that can add to our country that will make us into a more perfect union today. Also, and obviously this is a good thing. If we end these ridiculous policies, these ridiculous government spending, these stimulus packages, this universal basic income stuff, and not giving them free health care where they can take advantage of all these services, and if they want good stuff, if they want good services and good policies, they're going to have to work for it. We're going to incentivize people to work hard and find their one and only talent that they're great at, that can contribute to our nation, that can grow our economy, that can grow us into a more perfect union as Thomas Jefferson, as John Adams, as George Washington, and James Madison all envisioned it to be. And that's honestly a good thing. Incentivizing all of our immigrants. If they want to come into our country, they must have unique talent. They must have we must incentivize them to go to do it legally, to do it through the legal process, and have them to incentivize them to work hard and really striving and finding their one and only talent that can actually contribute to our nation as a whole. Also, this is something what the Democrats support, and in my opinion, this is long past time for Congress to do a pathway for citizenship for the Dreamers. It's long past time for Congress to do this. I was during the Trump administration, I was really disappointed that Congress could act and take action on this, because this is their duty. I think we should not be just relying on the president to make these decisions for us. Congress needs to take action and actually start proposing legislation that will protect the DACA recipients from deportation, that will reform our system where we give these DACA recipients, we give these kids the tool sets to help them, give them the tool sets to become United States citizens. We do baby steps with them and actually really helping them become U.S. citizens, so they're not. So we're protecting them from deportation. And once again, I'm going to repeat myself again. It's long past time for Congress to do this. As well, I think that this is something that we definitely need if we want to curb the overall increase. Migrant crossing on our southern, illegal crossing on our southern border, is we need to increase spending on border security. Border agents will be our border agents need to be equipped with the technology, the resources like drones, sensors, and cameras that will help them protect our country's borders from illegal crossing. As well, we'll resume the construction of the border wall, where we can build some parts of the border. Some parts of the border, a wall might make sense. On other parts of the border, maybe a wall won't make sense. Maybe in more traffic areas, yeah, a wall would make more sense in that part of the border. And as well, give people financial incentive to join the border patrol, to join border security, and help them, because this will ultimately, in my opinion, increase the manpower that our border patrol needs to secure the border. Because right now they are overwhelmed of the crisis at our southern border. They are so overwhelmed, and they need more people to actually control this crisis, to really lower the border crossings to a minimum. This is honestly going to be. They need more manpower and need proposing, and I think giving people a financial incentive to join Border Patrol, giving people a lot of benefits, and so a lot more benefits. This would ultimately, in my opinion, increase the manpower that our Border Patrol needs to secure the border, keep illegal aliens out of our country, and lower the border crisis to a minimum. As well, this ultimately hereby bans sanctuary cities and states, and bans sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. And if any state is protecting any illegal alien from deportation, they will be punished, and the funding they get from the federal government will be cut. They will still get some, but they won't get a lot, because if they're protecting the illegal alien from deportation. Because that's and I live in the state of California, and seeing them during the Trump administration era, seeing them pass a law that would actually that made California a sanctuary state, where the state where required all local law enforcement to not comply with federal immigration and customs enforcement, do not support them at handing over illegal aliens. Let the ICE don't actually cooperate with them. Don't comply with them. That's just, in my opinion, so irresponsible for by a state government to do. This is the federal government's domain, and as I said before, this is the federal government's domain. They're here to protect our customs, to protect our laws from people that violate our immigration laws. And seeing California do this, and other sanctuary states and sanctuary cities do this, is just, in my opinion, so wrong. And it's making their communities less safe from crime and terrorism. And it's why, in my opinion, I think banning sanctuary cities and sanctuary states throughout the entire nation, that would be a good start at making our countries and our communities and our neighborhoods so much more safer from crime and terrorism and domestic terrorism, or foreign people that are wanting to wreak havoc in our country. As well, this yet again enforces Title 42. This will bar the entry of any illegal immigrant from entering into the United States if they tested positive for COVID-19, or if they have a criminal or terrorist background, if they have if their health is compromised. We're not going to let them into our country, because we don't want them to actually expose that to all Americans. We want to keep every single American citizen safe from him. We want to keep making sure every single American is healthy, they're safe from crime and terrorism, and this over here will enforce Title 42, where illegal migrants that have tested positive for COVID-19 will be denied entry into the United States if they do so, which means they will be forced to go back to their country. And this is all honestly, in my opinion, if Congress does this when it comes to fundamentally reforming our U.S. immigration system, and changing our system to where it's based on merit. It's a point system where immigrants, if they want to come to our country, they must have a unique talent that can contribute to our country as a whole, which would incentivize them to work hard and find their one and only talent that they're good at, that they're good at comparatively, that can add so much to our nation, that can add so much ideas, that can add so much ideas to our nation, that can strive us to a more perfect union as our framers envision it. And even if it is increasing spending on border security to actually help our border agents to have the resources and the tools and the manpower to actually secure the southern border, and making sure they're not overwhelmed with the huge increased influx of migrants. But overall, share where you guys stand on this overall issue. Do you guys completely agree with me on my solution and my stance on where I overall stand on this issue, or do you guys completely disagree with me on this issue? So share your entire opinions in the comment section below, and be very, and so yet again, be very respectful at it, because we all have good ideas to actually crack down on the major issues of immigration and on the border crisis, and even on so many other issues. Be very civil and respectful to everyone, and even be in the comment section below, and actually be very respectful and share your overall stance and opinions, and your overall, and maybe your ideas on how we can make our immigration system much more fair to all people, and to all people that want to live in a country where they all have the liberty and the right to pursue a dream that they want to live. So thank you guys so much for watching yet again. this video, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And don't forget to actually, if you guys have any other political issues or any third party or independent candidates or other issues that you guys want me to talk about, leave those suggestions in the comment section below. But until next time, guys, this is the Young Centrist, and thank you so much for watching. And until next time, guys, this is the Young Centrist, and I am out.